Hey, Bargo here, back again with some true crime story for you. This one is dedicated to one of my viewers who listen to my videos while working as a truck driver. Thomas, I hope you enjoy this one, and please listen to this story before you decide what you're having for lunch today at work. Joe Metheny, born on March 2nd, 1953, was an American serial killer and rapist from the Baltimore and Maryland area. Despite declaring himself a serial killer and claiming to have killed 13 people, Metheny and his known victims were heavily involved with alcohol and the use of hard drugs. He worked as a truck driver and later on opened up a stand where he sold beef and pork, we can call it. He had some special ingredients, we can say. From now on, I will be reading Joe Metheny's confession and story from his own words and mouth, as he told the investigators. There might be a bit of bad language in there, but I'll probably censor them out later in the editing. Okay, so let's begin. To start out, I will tell you about myself at the present moment, which is locked up. I am 48 years old. I weigh about 450 pounds, and it's not all fat. I've been locked up for almost 8 years now, but when one has been sentenced to a couple of life without parole sentences, times doesn't matter anymore. I have no problem with being locked up, for no one put me here but myself, and I deserve to be right where I'm at, cause I had 12 law-abiding jurors that told me so, in a couple of different cases. I was only convicted of 2 murders and 1 kidnapping. For the one that got away, I got 50 years for her. The first murder I was sentenced to life without parole. The second one, they gave me the death penalty. I sat on Maryland's death row for 3 years, and then they overturned my sentence and gave me another life without parole and sent me down here for the rest of my life. I killed 7 people, 3 men and 4 women. 2 men I chopped up with an axe under a bridge in South Baltimore. I was found not guilty for them, cause they couldn't prove I did it. Under that same bridge I also killed 2 women and 1 man who was fishing, who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I weighed their bodies down and put them in that river. I showed the police where I put them about 3 years later, but they couldn't find them, so they could not charge me for them. My murder rampage started out as a revenge, but ended up as a passion for the taste of blood and the overwhelming sense of power one gets for taking the life of another. It all started back in July of 1994. I was at work. I was a truck driver. I was working overtime this one night. Then I got off and went home as I always did. But when I opened the door and turned on the light, I noticed there was nothing there. My old lady had taken everything, including my son, and left me. Her leaving was not my problem, but she took my 6-year-old son with her. She was a crack addict and a worthless piece of shit. I would have paid her to get out of my life. All she had to do was take my son over to my mother's house, and then she could have had everything else and be gone. I found out about 6 months later she had moved on the other side of town with some asshole that had her out selling her ass for drugs. They got busted for drugs, and they took my son away from them for child neglect and child abuse. I had no chance of going to social services and trying to get my son back due to my past criminal record, so I took it upon myself, with the hatred I had for these 2 who lost my son, to go looking for them. I had found out from someone that they was going under that bridge and getting high with some homeless mother who lived under that bridge. I went under there looking for them. They were not there, but the 2 homeless motherfuckers they got high with, they were down there. They were passed out on some old stinking mattress, and that's where they were when I left them. Except they were dead from being chopped up. That same night I lured the first crack down under that bridge. I got her high, and I was trying to get information out of her about my old lady's whereabouts. She acted like she didn't know, so I beat the hell out of her and raped her ass, then killed her. I put her in some bushes and went and lured the second bitch down there. I did the same to her as the last one, but as I was about to throw her in the bushes with the other one, I noticed an old black man down by the river, fishing, looking back up at me. I grabbed a steel pipe that was lying by and ran down to him and laid his head wide open. So I put the two girls and him in the river and weighed them down with rocks. That was a very busy night for me, 5 murders within about 7 hours. I washed up in that river and cleaned up the crime scene as much as I could, then left. 2.5 weeks later I was arrested and charged with the murders of the 2 men I chopped up. I spent close to 18 months in Baltimore City Jail waiting to go to trial. The trial lasted 1 week and it was thrown out of court because of lack of evidence. I was free again and went back and talked to my old boss into giving my job back to me at the pallet company. There was a little trailer on the property, so I told my boss to let me stay there and I could keep an eye on the place. He agreed to this and gave me the keys to the front gate and main building. The company was on a dead-end road and was very isolated. It was perfect for what I wanted to do. I lured 2 more crack whores up here to my trailer. I killed and butchered their bodies up. I cut the meat up and put it in some Tupperware bowls, then put it in a freezer. I buried their remains in several shallow graves in a little woods behind the company. Over the next couple of weeks, on the weekends, I opened up a little open pit beef stand. I had real roast beef and pork sandwiches, and why not? They were very good. The human body tastes very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can ever tell the difference. Everything was going pretty good until I ran out of my special meat. So I lured another bitch up to my trailer. I got her in there and started to rip her clothes off and knocking the hell out of her. She was screaming, but there was no one around to hear her except me, and I just kept laughing at her. I turned around for a split second, and that was my mistake, for she ran out of the door before I could get to her. There was an 8-foot chain link fence with barbed wire on top of it, around the front of the company. There was a stack of wooden pallets next to the fence about 10 feet high. That bitch scaled those pallets like a monkey and jumped the fence and ran down to the main road, where some guy in a pickup truck picked her up and took her to a nearby gas station where they called the cops. Well, I knew the cops were on their way, but I didn't run. I gathered up her clothing, grabbed the keys to the gate, and went out and opened it. Soon as I stepped out the gate, a cop car pulled up, and the cop jumped out and pulled his gun on me and told me to get on the ground. And that is where it all came to an end. They took me down and booked me. She had told them that I said I was going to kill her like the rest, which was true. They had me sitting in a little room down at homicide, drilling me and damn near kissing my ass, trying to find out what I had done. They pulled me out of city jail every day for 1 month, taking me back and forth between the company and the bridge. I had they going crazy over at the company, digging up the remains of those 2 bitches there, cause I had their remains buried in 7 different holes. The only thing I feel bad about in any of this is I didn't get to murder the 2 motherfuckers I was really after. And that's my ex-old lady and the bastard she got hooked up with. Well, that's my story. Horrible, but true. So the next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite out of that sandwich. Sometimes you never know who you may be eating. Ha ha ha, he says. Joe Metheny was found dead in his prison cell at the Western Correctional Institution in Cumberland, Maryland, on August 5th, 2017, at the age of 64.
A convicted Baltimore serial killer has died this weekend. Joe Metheny, the bald man in the video, was found dead in his cell. In this WJZ file video, Joe Metheny shows police where he buried the bodies. The 62-year-old was serving 2 life sentences without parole for kidnapping, sexual assault, and 2 counts of murder.
Yeah, I guess that's that. I don't think that might be the best way to get back your son. I sure hope he's alright today, living his best life. But man, what a childhood. Anyway, I am not eating any meat sandwiches today, especially not if they're served by a 450-pound man on drugs at the side of a truck stop, rubbing his hairy belly while staring straight into my eyes, devouring my soul slowly. Nope, I'm done. Have a great day and see you later. Bye.